Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. So Jason Momoa admits he's obsessed with the Snyder Cut, but we need to backtrack a little bit. The timing of all this is very interesting. Earlier this week, Jason Momoa said that the Snyder Cut was canon in the Aquaman film. Having seen the film, I can pretty much confirm that. But isn't it interesting how upset we all were as DCEU fans, as admirers and fans of Zack Snyder? Some of us are even saying, I'm boycotting every single DC movie from now on. Not watching them anymore. Not going to go and watch Aquaman. Not me, obviously, because I've seen it. I love DC. I will always support DC. But isn't it interesting, the timing of all of this? Because basically, by these two statements from Jason Momoa, this is forward the kind of Snyder movement. And now all or not some of those fans will be going to watch Aquaman. We already know the leader of this movement, basically she is, Fiona, has been to this film and loves this film and sees it as a great continuation from Snyder's DCEU. She claims that it's really the same kind of thing. Even the directing style is very similar to Zack. But they've been very clever about this, Warner Brothers, because let me tell you something. No one asks a question about the Snyder Cut unless they're told to, unless they're instructed to. So Warner Brothers want us to know that, in fact, they're supporters of the Snyder Cut because they've been planning on releasing this cut all along. Now we don't really know. We hear rumours, of course. But we don't know on what format we're going to see it, cinema, DC Universe. We really don't know. But for me, it's the big plug, isn't it? It's the big plug. It's obvious because Jason Momoa doesn't start talking about the Snyder Cut being canon without being told to talk about that. He's an actor. Warner Brothers are behind all of this. Now, I don't want you to misunderstand me. There's my man Zack. But, you know, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I don't think it's a bad thing. But we've got to kind of read between the lines here. And that's why I thought I'd do this video and just look at it from this angle. That, in fact, by Momoa mentioning the Snyder Cut twice in positive terms, I would say that Warner Brothers are well all right with this. I know that he said in his recent interview on MTV, oh, it's one thing I don't like about this industry, we can't speak freely and honestly. No way could Momoa say what he said in that MTV interview unless it was okay with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers are planning to release the Snyder Cut. That's obvious. That's obvious. I don't know how many ways I can explain this to you guys. It's been a big fight, hasn't it? Ever since we saw Justice League. I don't feel comfortable how they treated Zack Snyder. But the thing is, I don't think Warner Brothers feel particularly comfortable about how they treated him. They now realise if they allowed his cut to be released instead of getting Whedon to do the reshoots and everything and the rewrites, probably Justice League may have made 300 million more than it actually did. I think it would have been well between 800 million and 900 million. People would have still said, didn't make a billion, didn't make as much as the first Avengers, did it? Of course. But 900 million is better than 650, isn't it? And I still think, look, there still would have been negativity. There's still people who are after Zack Snyder, who want to bite him, who haven't forgiven him for Watchmen. Personally, I love that film. It's just another part of his body of work. But it definitely would have ended up a better story than what we got for Warner Brothers and for us, the fans. They know that. They know that. I think the people who were sacked within the DCEU were sacked because of the Whedon Cut, because of the Justice League. And I think that Zack Snyder could have a big opportunity to work within the worlds of DC. As I say, I've always kind of suspected they'll give him something non-consequential. Sorry, I'll say that again. They'll give him something non-consequential. So it won't be something where people say, shouldn't be doing that, too dark. They'll give Zack something, well, maybe it is a bit dark. As I spoke about in Injustice, right? Adapting a movie from the game or whatever, you know. I think that would be perfect for Zack because it is a dark story, Injustice, and he could actually have a franchise out of it as well without it interfering with what they're doing with the worlds of DC. But I explained to you a few weeks ago, about a month ago, that the reason they're calling it the worlds of DC is they can literally jump from one kind of multiverse to the other, or Elseworlds, or whatever. They can do whatever they want by calling it the worlds of DC. I like that name. I really do. DCEU was pretty cool, but worlds of DC means, look, we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to grab from this earth, that earth. Look at what they're doing with the Joker movie. That proves this is the worlds of DC. So I think there's a place in this universe, in this franchise for Zack Snyder. He deserves it after what he's given the franchise, because, yes, I admit it, I like his films. I'm sorry if you don't. I'm sorry. Please don't unsubscribe. Please listen, don't unsubscribe just because sometimes I say something you don't agree with. I think you're missing out. I'm a fan just like you are. We should be together and chat together. Don't unsubscribe from someone just because they don't agree. Disagreement is a healthy part of life. But anyway, yeah. So I could see him doing something like Injustice. But yeah, from what we're hearing from Momoa, I said this the other week as well. You know, put the dots together. Why are all those clippings from Batman v Superman and Man of Steel in Shazam? They're linking it all together. There's, you know, he will get something. He will get something within the DCEU, as I said, non-consequential. Something he can put his teeth into. He can make it violent. He can make it compelling. He can make it dark. And there's nothing more darker in the DC universe than Injustice. And people would flock to watch his version. Because whether people admit it or not, they like what Zack does. They do. They don't want to admit it because it's not exactly cool in some corners, is it? So, yes, I'm literally just shining a light and showing you evidence that Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada are very much behind Zack Snyder and his vision and to give him something. But also, they are planning to release the Snyder Cut. And because we are now in the worlds of DC, that's fine. They may even call it Justice League, the official cut. Hey, that's a good name, isn't it? Justice. Should we start hashtagging that? Justice League, the official cut. What do you think, guys and girls? What do you think? Are Warner Brothers now behind Zack Snyder and the Snyder Cut? Have they got Momoa in interviews to start plugging it and talking about canon and how he's obsessed with the Snyder Cut? Interesting. And isn't it more exciting when people are rebelling against something? And maybe Warner Brothers see that, and maybe that's why they're not going to come out and back it publicly. It's a very interesting time, but I'll tell you something. I'll wager anyone for $500, 500 euros, £500 that in 2019 we will actually see the Snyder Cut.